Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is October 20th and this is my weekly shop update. Now today I thought I'd just start off answering a few questions I've had in the past few weeks about the cutting boards I've been making. Specifically, a lot of people ask me what kind of finish I put on the cutting boards, and what I use is General Finish's salad bowl finish. Now I know there's various different ways that you can put a finish onto a cutting board that's going to be food safe and fairly long lasting. This is just the method that I prefer. Since it is technically a varnish, it does actually get in there and harden and seal the wood and the fibers. This is not like a scientific opinion or anything, just my personal opinion. If you use mineral oil, for instance, that never really actually dries. So if you ever have that on the board and you go to wash it with some soap, basically all you're doing is dissolving the finish in that board and making the finish last not as long. So you have to apply the finish more frequently. Whereas with the salad bowl finish, I rarely ever have to reapply any kind of finish to the cutting board even after years of use. For example, a few of the cutting boards we have in our house I made a few years ago, and they still look great, and they've been seeing fairly frequent use, maybe a few times a week, and being washed every time, and the finish still looks great after all these years. So just my opinion, this is what I use. The other question I had was, how do I route the little finger grabber dealy things in the sides? And to do that, I use a 3/4 inch diameter round nose or core box bit with my router and a straight edge. I just clamp the board vertically in my vise and I ride the router along the top with the straight edge just riding along the face of the board. And that gives me a nice little place for fingers to go to grab the boards. This one here is a white side bit. It is part number 1411. I used to use a cheaper bit, just like your standard whatever kind of bit you would get at the home center, to do these, and I always have to deal with a lot of burning and a lot of cleanup work on the actual finger holds. So maybe like a year ago or so, I thought I would step up to a nicer bit because I thought maybe that would make it a lot easier for me. I wouldn't have to do as much cleanup because the cut would be a lot cleaner. And it is true, this bit right here saves me so much time. It's a lot of money. This thing was not cheap, but the time I save having to sand each of these little finger dealies, whatever, I gotta think of a better name for those things, handholds, the less amount of time I have to spend sanding and cleaning up those handholds, the better, because as you can see I make a lot of them at once and I really don't want to spend a lot of time cleaning up those things. So this has saved me a whole bunch of time and it's definitely worth the investment. So this week in the shop I didn't really do anything very interesting. I think this week I spent a lot of time just making forms for my caps for outside. So I have a lot of melamine everywhere. The most interesting one that I formed this week was the hearthstone for in front of the fireplace because it has a curved front. And that was actually kind of interesting to do, and I did record a lot of it, so I will have a video on it. But I made a template of it before I got started. So using some 1/4 inch MDF, I made a template of the whole hearthstone just so I had an idea of exactly how it was going to look when it was formed full of concrete. And then I poured it and we actually fitted it already. So that was a lot of fun to make a curved form. It wasn't really as hard as I thought it was going to be. Because this form isn't really that thick, or the finished product isn't going to be that thick, the thickness of the sides doesn't really matter a whole lot. I was able to use just a couple strips of this 1/4 inch material attached to the actual form to keep all the concrete in, and that allowed me to follow the curve. I tried to follow the curve with a piece of 3/4 inch MDF and that wasn't happening. It was just too tight of a curve, but it was no problem for that thinner material. So that was a lot of fun. That was a nice one to make. And the funny thing about this actual stone was it's very deceiving. This actually has more concrete in it than my 8-foot capstones, surprisingly enough. But the other really surprising thing is when we went to actually move this and position it onto the fireplace, it actually felt a lot lighter than the 8-foot capstone. So I'm not sure if maybe because this was wider and I don't know, it was less awkward to carry, it just felt better, but it was a lot easier to place than those giant 8-foot capstones. So I know I said I'd be pretty much done with the patio this week, and I think I was pretty close. We are very, very close to being done with it. I'm going to take you outside for the rest of this update and just talk about it while I'm out there, because I'm just really excited about the progress and it's just really coming together, and I'm pumped. So let's go. All right, so here we are on the patio. A lot of great progress this week, and it's really close to being done. Last week I had just formed 2 of the chimney caps, and I have 2 of them installed up there. I have the other 2 already formed. I just haven't installed them completely yet. They haven't been mortared on. These were actually not that hard to get up there. All I really had to do was stand over here on this wall and pick them up and drop them on top of the chimney. So that didn't really go as poorly as I had thought. It actually went really well. Now as we come down, we installed the light, which we picked out a few weeks ago. And an interesting thing here is there's a piece of bluestone behind it, which is just a plate or decorative plate around the electrical box. And that piece of bluestone is actually from the old patio that was here. The old patio was just a concrete patio with stones placed into it. And a lot of those stones were coming out and they were popping out. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we got rid of the old patio, because it was just so old and deteriorated. So as I was removing it, I noticed that a few of the stones in it were actually a few pieces of bluestone. So I held on to a couple of them, and I'm glad I did, because I found a great use for one of them right here as this awesome custom backplate. It's really cool. Coming down the rest of the chimney, there's a few places where we still need to add a few more pieces of stone to complete the facade. And then we get down to the mantle, which I also formed last week. I still have to install the side mantle on this side, but this one over here is done as well. And coming all the way down, I finished a fire brick on the arch. We still have some stone work to do around the opening. And then down here is the beautiful hearthstone. This came out really nice. It is just, the stones and the caps just do so much to really unify and make the space such a more clean and welcoming area. And you can see the giant 8-foot caps on the left and right of me. These are 14.5 inches wide. I think they're 2 1/4 inches thick and 8 feet long. The hearthstone is 2 1/8 inches thick, just over 5 feet long, and 2 feet wide at the apex of the curve. Not a whole lot left to do here, which is awesome. I'm really, if you can't tell, as I've already said it before, I'm really excited about all this great progress we've had. At this point, I just need to make the rest of the caps, which are really easy to do now because the forms are actually reusable. I've reused a few of them before and it works out really well. So I just need to put those forms back together and then pour some more caps. But I just have a few more caps to make just to complete the 2 side walls, and then one long one to go up here on this tall wall. It's really awesome to be able to see that finishing line from where I am now and from where this has come from. This has been quite the project, and we've been spending a lot of time out here, and we have a lot of effort invested into this. So it's amazing to be able to feel like we're getting somewhere and being really close to being done. But one thing that I'm extra excited about is this Wednesday, October 22nd, is Lindsay and my wedding anniversary. So what I'm hoping to do for that night is, well, we're gonna go to dinner, because that's a tradition of ours. We go to dinner, but I think when we get back, we're gonna light our first fire out here and just enjoy the time being out here, maybe drink a bottle of wine. I'm really looking forward to that. So with the completion of this project, kind of opens up my time to do other things. And at this point, my shop is an absolute disaster. So before I'm able to actually get back in there and start making things, I need to get it pretty clean and organized, because it's not conducive to me wanting to be in there making things at this point. Now the great thing for you is, now that I'm a little more free and I have more time, I'll be in the shop more, making more projects, more woodworking, and more content for you. I haven't been able to spend as much time making great videos and great content as I'd like to. But the winter has always been more of my workshop time anyway. So thanks as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today, or anything here in my backyard or in my shop, please leave me a comment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, and I fixed my mic. It took me longer to find my soldering iron than it did to fix the actual cord. Ah. See you guys.